Welcome to another episode of Core Top Tens. My name's Legacy.
And I'm Max.
I'm Bobby.
Simon J.
All right, and D3, if you can do the honors.
Good evening, ladies and germs.
Good evening to you, sir.
All right, if you cannot tell by that, we are doing one of our special ones because we are in Halloween season. We are going to be doing top 10 non-rated R horror movies. We've already done top 10 just horror movies in general, but this one we went with non-rated R. And I was thinking about it, but I really could not get to 10.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, my heart wouldn't have been in the list, guys, and I will never sully the integrity of this list. I just don't do that.
Respect the list.
I do want to specify the reason for some of my picks. The reason why I didn't choose pre-1968 is because the rated R system did not exist until 1968.
Yes.
So a lot of these films, like let's say like a Frankenstein, that would have been rated R if that system existed back then. That's why I didn't choose like some of those older movies.
Is this your way of saying that you would have had nothing but old movies on your list?
He has to explain because the viewers know he's old-fashioned. But I will say with these lists, there was quite some diversity. There was 23 total movies that got a vote. All right. So, gentlemen, are we ready?
Yep. And you don't have to scream at this time.
No, we're not. We're not doing wrestling, so no screaming. All right. So, coming in 10th spot was voted on by one person and one person only. A critic from Rotten Tomatoes says, it may not be as perfect as another movie in this franchise, but it dazzles and terrifies you enough to think about the emotional implications of the several central characters. This movie had a 79% audience score, 78 tomato meter score. This one was exquisite. This was probably comebacks of this director because this director had several bums for a while. And it also stars none other than James McAvoy. It is Split, but solely by Max.
Has no one else seen the movie?
No, I have not actually.
The last M. Night Shyamalan movie I have seen was The Happening. And that was, 2008?
Clearly that's why it ranks so low, because some people here have no taste. But that's okay. We've already established that in other recordings, so it's nothing new. But no, I like Split primarily because of James McAvoy's performance. He is fantastic in this movie. He plays, of course, a lot of different personalities. But the way he just switches between each of them just like that is pretty impressive. So I did enjoy that.
I'm kind of surprised it's not rated R.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
And M. Night Shyamalan had a stretch of movies that were pretty bad. I think this is his return to finally doing something good. And then he's had a couple okay ones since this. But this one was like, okay, finally, M. Night's back.
Everybody also realized what kind of director M. Night Shyamalan was because when he first came out, remember people were comparing him to Spielberg? And then everybody's like, oh, okay, so he's not Spielberg, but we know what he is now.
That's why when he has a movie coming out, they either know right then or there if they're going to see it.
Yeah, you know what you're getting.
You're ready for the twist. You know the twist is coming. I'm surprised he wasn't. I mean, I could get it, but I'm surprised he wasn't nominated for an Oscar because a lot of people really praised his performance of having to play so many different parts. Because I remember there was a lot of good buzz about it.
I don't think they go through all of them, but in the movie, I believe they say he has 23 personalities. And the second one, Glass, he does go through some more of them, but that movie's not as good as this one. And then you see at the end, he has all these personalities, and they're all afraid of this one personality called the Beast. When he turns to this one, he gets superhuman strength. And I'm not going to spoil it because it gets revealed in Glass what the deal is with that. But he does have superhuman strength, and he's a beast, and he has killed some people. And that's kind of where he gets into trouble in this movie because he has killed a few people. And he kidnaps some teenage girls, one of them being Anna Taylor-Joy. And I think this was like before she got popular. He kidnaps them, and I'm not going to go through the whole plot, but hijinks ensue. But I just like the whole deal. The acting in this is really good, especially for an M. Night movie. Again, just McAvoy's performance really takes it over the top.
Yeah, take your word for it.
Maybe one day you'll see the damn thing.
Maybe. Probably not.
It's not scary,
Maybe.
Philip. It's not scary.
Nah, this one actually will probably be interesting.
Well, at the end, as an end credit scene, Philip, they bring back Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable.
I do like the universe he comes because, again, if you haven't seen Unbreakable, it is still to date, in my opinion, M. Night Shyamalan's best movie ever. That one was so good.
I would say I enjoyed Split better than Unbreakable. I know it's sacrilegious to you, but
Yeah, to each their own. Let's go into our next movie. Was again voted on by one person. This is a huge movie. One critic said, it's a scrappy film that moves with complete and utter confidence, creating as much tension with all you don't see as much as what you do. This one is one of the older films. This one had a 97 tomato meter score, 90% popcorn meter, which is a fan score. This came out in 1975. This one is by a legendary director. Actually, is the first of these kinds of movies, and it also brought fear to many people during that summer about what is in the water. It is none other than the movie Jaws, put on solely by D3.
One of the OG of these horror films that weren't rated R that probably should have been.
I thought about Jaws, but it's not my favorite movie.
Look, the fact that it caused mass panic from people and did not want to get into the beach speaks to the volume about how scary this film was to people. To this day, people are afraid of the beach because of this movie.
I think also it's interesting because I feel like nowadays it's not really a horror movie. Like nowadays standards, this is not really a horror. Or is it just me?
I mean, I would just because people die in it. I mean, the shark does kill. I would still say it's horror, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not scary. I would say.
Though I'm not a fan of this movie, but it did bring a lot of good tension to like really did use the tension of like, oh, you don't see the shark for most of the movie. For a lot of it, and it's that whole, I mean, it has also the iconic music.
The poster's iconic too, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the movie, it's just, I'm just feeling these other movies above it.
You see, you have no respect, that's what it is.
We have to be true to ourselves when we make these lists, Bobby, okay?
Look, I'm saying, it's probably like top 5 horror movies that have caused panic in people, I'm just saying.
Okay. That's not the list. That's not what we did here.
If you wanted it to be a list, you should have suggested it.
I mean, it's definitely one of the most, probably the most iconic movie we have. Also, like I said, it brought about the blockbuster. This was the first blockbuster movie.
Now, but if this was top 10 most important horror movies, yes, of course it would have to go on there.
Shoot, even just the most important movies of all time.
So we respect it, Bobby, but no hard feelings, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
It didn't seem fine a minute ago.
What's up, class?
We're going to go into our next movie. It also was tied with this one, so they both came in at a spot with 9 points. This movie was actually voted on by 2 people. One of the reviews that said, one of these movies that seemed destined to be iconic as soon as it was released. From its unique storytelling method to the utter creepiness of so-and-so, it's unforgettable. This movie came out 20 years ago, so 2004. It starred famous actors at that time, and very interesting concept. This actually came from Japan, was the original creation, and there's a book which somebody has read it. So we're going to be talking none other than The Grudge, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Jake and I voted for it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I said, you know what? Just didn't feel that movie.
Now, before we get into it, we will say, of course, Ju-On is better than this, but Ju-On's rated R, so we couldn't include that. Yeah, this one falls into the it was okay category. It's definitely not the best Japan remake that we've done, but it was a good effort. And they kept the look of Kayako pretty close to what they had in Japan, and they mimicked the noise as well, which I liked. Very iconic noise that she makes. So they kept it true. They didn't change too much. And some of the scenes they had in there are almost shot for shot what the Japanese one has, but it's still fun to see. And for a PG-13 movie, it did have some decent gore in it because there's one scene where a girl is walking down the stairs with half her jaw ripped off. So that was pretty graphic for a PG-13 movie. But of course, I mean, for The Grudge, I'm not going to go through the whole deal. It deals with a tragedy happens in a place, and that place becomes cursed. So when someone else comes in, the curse is also going to take over that family, and it's just a cycle over and over again. It just kills people after people, and it's pretty crazy. This thing is efficient, especially if you look at the other movies and TV shows. This curse can't be beaten.
Okay. We're going to our next movie. The next 2 came in. There was another tie in 6th spot. This movie we're going to talk about was voted on by 2 people. One of the critics says it's very raw, very real, but it's shot very beautiful, and the acting is superb. This movie came out back in 2016. It had a 99% tomato meter score, 71% popcorn meter. This movie is none other than Under the Shadow.
This was me as well. This is probably one that's not well known, so I had to put it on this list to kind of spread the word on it. So it is foreign language, so you would have read subtitles, but I thought this movie just did a great job of kind of making the main characters as a mother and daughter feel alone. Because what happens is there's this war-torn area, and this is apartment building, and throughout the story it gets revealed that there's a djinn involved, like the genie kind of deal. So this djinn is of course evil.
Naturally.
Yes, naturally. Throughout the movie, people are leaving the building except this mother and daughter, and at one point they're just alone in the building, and they just did a great job of making them feel alone. Because when I was watching it, I was like, man, I'm kind of worried for these two because they're in this building with this evil all by themselves. So I just thought it was great acting, great storytelling in this movie, so I had to put it in there. It's really good, and I know a lot of people haven't really seen it. I think it's on Netflix.
All right. We're going to talk about our next movie. Was voted on by 2 people. This movie, it is a wacky and satirical spectacle of chaos. This is also a pretty well-known movie. It came out with an 86 tomato meter score, 78% popcorn score. A movie that has several rules to it that people know that you have to be careful. Though they look cute and cuddly, they were very dangerous. It is none other than 1984's Gremlins.
Yeah, Gremlins is a classic. Of course, like I said, there's rules, 3 rules. I believe it was you don't feed after midnight, don't put water on it, and don't put them in sunlight. So yeah, those are 3 things. But of course, with any horror movie that has a set of rules, you know what's going to happen. Those rules are going to get broken. So all shit breaks loose.
I love the movie. I just consider it more of a comedy than a horror film.
Well, the second one, definitely.
Never watched it.
We're not surprised.
Maybe I would, maybe I won't. We'll never know.
But this is one of the few horror movies that could also be considered a Christmas movie.
I mean, yeah, it's set during Christmas, so.
Yeah. So, watch it for your Christmas movies this year.
I usually do. In fact, if you ever read my book about top 25 Christmas movies, it's on that list.
You're not going to let us in on what number it was? Oh, we'll have to buy the book. Okay, I got you.
You have to buy the book. Why not spoil the book?
I think he's going to get those details free.
Like I said, I think it's a great alternative to Christmas movies.
It's just a fun movie. You get fun, ridiculous kills.
And because of this movie and Raiders of the Lost Ark, so that Temple of Doom is why we got PG-13.
Makes sense.
It's not rated R material either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not PG. They're just like, we need something in the middle of this. What can we do? What can we do?
How about 13-year-olds? That's good. There's kind of more. All right, we're going to go into our next movie. It came in 5th place with 13 points. This movie boasted unwavering focus, incredibly built image system, some of the best sound design I've seen in a horror film so far. This film came with an interesting premise. The director is actually one of the actors in it, and it actually stars a real-life married couple that also played a married couple in the movie. The movie is called A Quiet Place.
I've yet to see any of them, and there's now 3 of them.
They're good. Interesting premise. People have to live without making noise, so it's really interesting seeing their daily lives. Well, the first 2 are good. I haven't seen the newest one.
If The Quiet Place was real, me and my family would be dead in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing as zombie apocalypse, so it wouldn't stand a chance.
No, but no. I do want to see these movies. I know they are well received by people, and I've seen some clips from it, and it looks pretty intense. I plan on watching it this October. Well, it's October now, but this Halloween season, I plan on watching it.
All right. Let us know what you think. All right. This next movie in 4th spot. This movie is well acted, nuanced, surprisingly effective, a definite must-see thriller. This movie actually was the sequel that took a while to come out. I'm surprised there was such a gap, but people still did like it because it still got a 90% tomato meter score, 79% popcorn score. It is none other than 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I know Jacob hasn't seen it, which means Bobby probably hasn't seen it either, have you?
I haven't seen it.
Good Lord. John Goodman in this movie. It's freaking unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So in this movie, the company that is responsible for the monster, I forget the company name, but he worked for them, so he knows what's out there. So in the beginning of the movie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's driving, she gets in an accident. She wakes up, she's in John Goodman's bunker. There's another guy there too, and he's telling the both of them that you cannot go outside, you will die. There's aliens or whatnot. So he's playing this crazy guy, or at least the 2 other characters think he's crazy. So the movie just goes along. They're trying to get out of the bunker because they think he's kidnapped them. There's no aliens outside. What are you, crazy? So the whole movie just plays out. There's a whole lot of tension. So it's very fun to watch it all unfold. It's a fantastic movie. John Goodman, phenomenal performance. Probably an underrated performance for him. The best movie in the Cloverfield franchise, for sure. But it had a small budget. It only had a $13 million budget and made $110 million at the box office. So I'm kind of surprised they haven't done more.
I'm surprised they also did well, because usually movies that take
originally,
a while.
I don't think it was even supposed to connect to Cloverfield, but then they decided to.
That's right. They had the script originally, and then somehow, some way they were like, hey, let's tie this into the Cloverfield franchise, which probably worked out because a lot more people probably saw it because of that, but it doesn't really feel all that connected until you get to the end of the movie. But it is fun the whole time, because when you first watch it, you don't know what's going to happen at the end, of course, so you're like, is he lying? Is he telling the truth? And it's just great to see that kind of unfold.
Interesting. All right, so the last three movies, everybody voted on them. The first one we're going to talk about came in with 21 points, came in third. This is, again, another popular movie. It actually has been parodied, and scenes of it have been parodied. It is a masterclass in creeping suburban horror, is what one top critic said from it. This is none other than 1982's Poltergeist.
What a classic movie. Now, by today's standards, it is not scary at all, especially to anyone who's a seasoned horror movie watcher. So this is definitely a beginner horror movie, I would say. But you got Coach in it. He's phenomenal. You get the iconic line at the end.
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones!
And there's a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff that's interesting, because in a scene near the end, the house, when it's starting to crumble and everything, there's some skulls in this muddy water, and it turns out some of those were real freaking skulls.
Yeah, because they said it was cheaper to get real skulls than it was to get fake skulls.
How crazy is that? But the Poltergeist is kind of just a timeless horror story. You could set that story anywhere in time, really, and it would still be good.
I remember the Family Guy parodied this, and so did The Simpsons.
The only bad thing, though, is that poor girl, man, she went through some
I know.
stuff.
Yeah.
She died very, very young. I think was she the one who was murdered, or was she sick?
She was murdered. Nah, she was murdered.
She was
by her,
murdered.
Dad.
So that's very unfortunate. But she does deliver that classic line. And you'll see that. I mean, that's been parodied a billion times more than anything else in this movie.
Seen that's creepy. Nothing worse than a creepy kid. You just can't. There's just something about them. It's like dolls. They're just so creepy.
They're just inherently creepy, but a very fun movie. We can't forget about the clown. That did scare me as a kid. That is probably the best scene and probably the most iconic horror scene of this from this movie.
You know that kid was actually getting legit strangled?
I think I did read that somewhere. Yeah, they kind of.
I think he said he was passed out, and then Spielberg realized that kid ain't that good of an actor right now.
Well, they always overdid the stunts back then. In Exorcist, they almost broke someone's back from one of the. Actually, no, I think they did.
I think they did break her. They did break her.
They did. Well, Linda Blair had back problems because of that movie.
So yeah, but when you say that the stunts weren't safe, yeah, I'm not surprised.
All right, we're gonna go into our next one. Number 2, also voted on by everybody, came in with 34 points. Was two people's number ones, one person's number 2. This movie is edgy, watchable film, but one that makes you feel more squeamish than screamish. Starring none other than the famous Naomi Watts, coming in with 71% tomato meter and 48% popcorn score. It is none other than also a remake of a Japanese movie. It is The Ring.
You say 48%?
Yeah, 48% popcorn.
48% like this movie's audience.
It's pretty much very similar to the original, which was really good too.
It's the best Japanese to American remake horror film.
I thought you were about to say it's the best Japanese horror, and I was like, I like Ju-on better.
Yeah, well, when I said earlier that Ju-on was clearly better than The Grudge, in this case, The Ring they're so similar. Those two are about even with this one and Ringu, I would say. So 48% is very shocking.
I do prefer the original, but if someone said they preferred the American version, I wouldn't have been too upset either. I think the girl is scarier in the original version. You know, it's just the effects they use.
I will say the video that was in this was pretty good. I thought it's different than the Japanese one. And the look of like when they did the well part finally near the end. I like that. I mean, just the fact you see her slowly crawling towards the TV. I mean, that's freaking terrifying.
Oh, man.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, this one's another one been parodied a lot. Also, other movies have kind of taken this concept for horror and just adapted it to their own. Of the whole, you watch a video or whatever. Several other franchises has taken the similar concept.
I mean, with good reason.
Honestly, all I'm saying is if someone tells me you watch this video in 7 days you die, I'm never watching it.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't understand in the movies. Like, all these kids are like, hey, okay, I've heard about this creepy video, right, guys? I've heard if you watch this movie, a girl calls you, you die in 7 days. Guys, you want to watch it?
Nope.
Like, so what good can I get out of this? Oh, nothing, dude. It's either you die or you don't. Oh, great.
I'm good. I'm just going to take people's word for it. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it.
Say that part I don't get, but Bobby, kids are stupid. They're stupid in every generation, so they would absolutely do it.
Oh, yeah.
They would. Now, I would say the less said about the, not Rings 2, but the third movie, what was it, Rings?
Basically, any sequel to this is not very good. Even Ringu 2 wasn't very good. So they have a great concept here. The first movie for both for Ringu and Ring are good, but they just cannot figure out what the hell to do after that.
In horror, especially, I feel it's hard to keep going. Like, there's only so much space you can go with the execution without doing the same thing over.
I think that there is potential for this to be a good franchise. I think you could do a lot more with this character than what they've done. But I also did like the idea in this one of how if you copy the videotape and have someone watch it, you can kind of pass on the curse. And that's also been parodied, or not parodied, but copied in other movies like It Follows. The curse kind of passes on to someone else. So,
Though that's kind of cruel to do, but hey.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Sure.
Man, I've read a few of the books. The books get kind of crazy too, plot-wise. It gets really out there, so I kind of see why it's hard to keep making the movies, because the books kind of get crazy too. So the sequels are all crappy because they don't want to do the same thing.
But the character Samara / Sadako is very popular. I mean, it's even been adapted to video games like Dead by Daylight. I think there's another a fighting game she was in or something. But so she's a very popular character. I would like to see more of her just done well. That'd be great.
All right, we're going to get into some honorable mentions. The first movie we're going to talk about is going to be by M. Night Shyamalan. Twist is kind of a little lame, but, you just got to remember there's always swing. It is Signs.
Well, that was a good movie. Like I said, after this, he started his downfall. Then he tried to resurrect it. So, this was like towards his peak.
Well, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think this movie's overrated as hell. People are starting to get like nostalgic for it and starting to trying to elevate it to a better, higher status than it deserves. Like Phil said, this is a cheesy M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is right along the same level as The Village, The Visit. It's slightly better than those.
It's better than The Village. It's
better. It's just a twist. The twist could have been better. The twist really was kind of...
It is dumb. Why would the aliens come to a planet that there is 70% water and they can't do water?
It's kind of like World of the Worlds. Like, it's like they find a cheap way to end it. In World of the Worlds, they just get sick.
The World of the Worlds, like, at least that's more plausible. Like, yes, they would die because they have not been exposed to our diseases.
What if
that is a little more plausible.
They were weak to water. What if they didn't know?
I'm sorry, Bobby. I would have to put like 6 cents above this. I'll definitely put Knock at the Cabin. Sorry, man. I think it's a bit overrated. Where'd you have this?
He had this at 4.
It was entertaining. I liked it. I think the acting was very good in it. Other than when the alien first popped up, that people were cited as one of the scarier moments of Shyamalan's movies.
I thought that whole baseball backstory with was it Joaquin Phoenix? I thought that was terrible. It was so corny.
But it never felt right not to swing, Max.
Not for me. I'll just say that.
All right, we're going to talk about another movie. This is one of the ones I saw. I actually enjoyed this movie. It wasn't bad. It is none other than an older movie that finally had 2 big monsters going after each other. It was Alien versus Predator.
Growing up, when the trailers came out for the movie, I was like, oh man, I really want to see the Alien Predator fight. And it wasn't terrible. Now, the plot is pretty basic, but it's kind of like Freddy vs. Jason. You kind of want a basic plot. I just want to see these 2 motherfuckers fight. It's not nearly as good as Freddy vs. Jason. I wish Freddy vs. Jason was PG-13.
I was about to say the same thing. If Freddy vs. Jason is PG-13, we would be talking about it.
That'd be a top 5 for me.
It's an easy watch.
Yeah, easy watch. You're not going to hate yourself.
And it's not, like you said, not a good movie. The plot's not very good. The acting, I wouldn't even say is that good. But did like how they introduced the alien into it. You first see it after it stabs one of the predators. I like that. And then it gets face to face with them. That's good shit.
No, the first Saint fight scene was really good.
The subplot with the predator and the girl, hated it.
Yeah, but the sequel to this movie is absolutely terrible.
This one, I would say, I rewatch every year. Like you said, just an easy watch. You don't have to take it seriously. You're here to have a good time.
It would have been better if it was rated R.
Yes.
Yeah, this was one that I hadn't seen Predator before I saw this. Like I saw this in theaters, and I remember that one scene where you have all those eggs and they start breaking, and that guy's in there, the face things that just came out of the eggs. I'm like, ooh, you screwed, man, you screwed, buddy.
Every single Alien movie has to have a scene where people go into the I don't know what they call it, egg nest or whatever. And I know it's coming, and I love it every time. It's so frightening just to think about yourself in that situation. You're like, I am so fucked.
All right. We're going to go into another film. This one is actually a sequel. It is none other than Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Yeah, so this is directed by Mike Flanagan, who has been knocking stuff out the park with some of his TV shows he's been doing. He didn't direct the first one, and you can tell because the first one is utter dog shit. It's horrible. So I had very low expectations for the second one, but when I watched it, I was like, this is everything the first one should have been. This is actually a good movie. And is actually somewhat scary, especially for a PG-13 horror movie. I would say this is on the upper end for that kind of horror. But it's a prequel to the first one, so it's showing how the curse happened or whatever. But just the way it's done, I mean, it's generally frightening. And this movie also has the iconic Lynn Shay. She's not in it much, but she is in it. Well, I feel like we'll be talking about her again soon.
Thank you for that segue as we go into our number one movie. It is also has spawned its own universe, but it started off with this number one movie. This is actually a director that's done pretty well for themselves also outside of this universe as well. The movie scared me so much, I got chills, almost screamed a few times, and really enjoyed it. The other ones have been good, but I don't know if they've been able to match the greatness of this one. It's coming in with 67% tomato meter, 62% popcorn meter. It is none other than the 2011 classic Insidious.
2011, huh?
Yep. I mean, this is directed by James Wan. Of course, I would say The Conjuring is his best franchise, but that's, of course, rated R, so we're not going to talk about it. But for Insidious, when we did our research for this list, I was like, we were kind of surprised that Insidious was not rated R, because this is actually legitimately a scary movie. Like, I'm not even talking for PG-13. Like, this is actually a scary movie. Because James Wan does such a great job creating this dark atmosphere. Because, of course, in this movie, Patrick Wilson and his son have astral projection powers, and they can go to this place called The Further, which is like a dark inverse of our world. And every time they go to this universe, everything is just frightening. It's just the atmosphere James Wan creates when they're in The Further is kind of unnerving. I remember when we first watched it, you just didn't know what was going to happen because everything's so slow. And the music's playing, and you don't know when someone's going to make that sudden movement. So, you had to prepare yourself. And then they did also a great job. What James Wan did is he got Tiny Tim's, I forget the exact title, but I think it's Through the Tulips. The way he uses that now is like considered like a horror song. So now people get kind of uneasy when that plays, because in this movie it plays a couple times.
Yeah, I think the actual one is like Tiptoes Through the Tulips.
That's it, Tiptoes, yeah. But it works great in a song. It sounds like a perfect horror song, actually.
Yeah, now people associate it with horror. Because in a horror movie setting, yes, it is creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And when the lipstick man first appeared out of nowhere, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, that was good. See, that's a jump scare that's well done. It's not forced. When you're sinister and you do the same one twice, you need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind jump scares if you properly do them.
According to Wikipedia, I have a hard time believing this, but they said the budget was $1.5 million. If that is true, it was only $1.5 million. How James Wan was able to get this on film is a miracle, because there's this should cost way more than that. So I have a hard time believing that, but that's what Wikipedia.
Patrick Wilson must have took a pay cut.
Somebody did. Dang. But either way, if that is true, that's really crazy. But the box office on that was $100 million. So if that's true, they made 100 times pretty much their budget.
Ooh, well done. Well done, sir.
Another cool thing about this one is that it was written by Lee Wanell, and he also wrote, I believe, Saw with James Wan. And he is also in this movie. He plays one of the detective ghost hunting guys that are in this movie. And then, of course, as we mentioned before, with Lynn Shay, she's, of course, one of the main characters in this movie. And she is really, I think, probably she would be one of the more popular characters from this franchise. You gotta respect her. She's a true veteran of the horror genre. She was in it even in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street. But this franchise, I would say some people may consider the second one to be better, but that's definitely it. After that, it kind of does go downhill. I still think the third one's pretty decent, but the most recent one was by far the worst one, and that was not very good.
So, there you go. There's our list. Did you like the list? Did you not? Were there some movies that you thought we missed out on? Please let us know in the comments below. Thank you all for liking, sharing, subscribing. We've gotten a lot of views lately. Please hit the like button. Please share with your friends. Tell them how much you enjoy us. And again, like I always say, please give us a list. If you want to see us talk about something, please let us know. I guarantee you, if you put it there, we will put it on our long list, and we will make sure to discuss and give you all what you want. You all are the reason we keep doing these. My name's Legacy.
And I'm Max.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Jay.
And may the discussions begin. See you all.